Hey guys, I would like you to think of any number from 1 to 20. Now for this trick, I would like you to think of the number 8. I'm just going to tell you the number just because I don't have a real spectator here, but you really could be thinking of any number, okay? So now what we're going to do is I'm going to go through the cards from 1 to 20, and whatever card falls on the number that you are thinking of, so let's say you're thinking of the number 2, then the second card, you would remember that one, okay? So, let's do it. So I'm going to show you 20 cards. Remember your card. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20. Okay, so this is 20 cards. Remember your card. Think about it really hard. Now, we give the deck a couple of cuts, just like that. The spectator can cut the deck if they want to. What you do is you just cut the deck a few times, square up the deck, and now what you say is, to the spectator, I am going to read your mind. Okay, so I'm going to go through the cards, and I'm just going to take a look. I'm going to look, and I'm going to make a prediction, okay? So I am looking at the cards, and I'm going to make a prediction. Okay, I have a prediction what I think your card is. So now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask the spectator to think really hard about the number they thought about earlier. So, again, in my example, if they thought of the number 2, now they're thinking of the number 2 really hard. Not the number of the card, but the place that it was in the deck. Okay, I'm going to actually read your mind. So I know what your card is, and now I know your number. What I'm going to do is cut the deck a few times, so that now your card has been placed into a very specific location. It's actually been placed at your number. So what was your number? Well, of course they say 8, because in this case it is 8. So we're going to count, or they can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 cards, and they arrive at their card. Okay guys, now I'm going to be teaching you how to do this trick. Okay, so what you're going to do for this trick is hand out the deck to be shuffled, and then you can present this as a mind reading trick. Well, it is a mind reading trick. You read their mind twice, which is pretty cool. And if you perform it well, then people are very astounded by this, and they have no idea how you just read their mind. And it's also a very, very simple trick, which is really great. So now, basically the way it works, cut the deck a few times. You can even have them cut it so they get used to how to cut a deck of cards, because that is important later in the trick. So then what you're going to do is you're going to say, think of a number 1 to 20. Now, a lot of the time, when people, when they hear this, they're going to think, okay, we're doing a math trick. So they're often very surprised when it's not a math trick. And so that's really cool. That's the first thing that's cool. It's like, oh, this is a different sort of trick. And then, of course, you're going to go through the cards, showing them. And after you explain, I like to explain the number 2, because in my experience, no one has ever thought of the number 2. So you say, like, oh, if you're thinking of the number 2, you think of the second card, because there's 2 cards. Make sure they understand what they're doing, because it's not cool if they mess it up, because then it doesn't work, and that's not cool at all. So you're going to have them understand what you're doing, and then you're going to show them the cards. You're going to show them 20 cards. Okay, let's just say I showed them 20 cards, and they're thinking of a card. It does not matter what card they're thinking of, but let's say like this is 20 cards. You're going to flip over all of those cards at the end and briefly display them, saying you're thinking of one of these cards. Now, this card right here, the 5 of hearts, you're going to remember that card. So that's not their card, but in this case, this is your key card. This is very important. The 5 of hearts is your key card. Hopefully most of you are familiar with what a key card is. It's basically a card that is placed into a position that is close, or you know how it's related to where the spectator's card is positioned in the deck. Now, we don't know that, but the spectator knows that, because remember, they're thinking of their number. Usually key cards are right below or on top of a card, but they can also be far apart. So now, when we cut the deck, the key card will stay in whatever relationship it has with the spectator's cards. And if you earlier had the spectator cut the deck, now they can do it again, because remember, they know how to do it. They understand how it works. You can even have them cut it multiple times. Just make sure they are complete and true cuts, no triple cuts or anything, because those will mess up the order of the deck. Now, if you know how to do a false shuffle, maybe a zero shuffle like this, where you riffle the cards together like that, display it like that, and then take them apart before pushing them together like that, that can also be very convincing. You can do a false overhand shuffle. Of course, you'd have to practice this a lot to get the timing right, so you can be talking while you are doing it. So you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in jog, throw the rest on top, split at the break, but including the card that was in jogged, and go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. That's 6 cards. Put the rest on top. Now the cards are back in their original order. That's just a quick false shuffle. Do whatever you want. Then what you're going to do is you're going to say, I'm going to read your mind. And usually now, if you just say it as a statement, people are going to be like, this is impossible. You say, you just thought of a card. And they're like, yeah, I just thought of a card. Because they didn't even say it out loud. They didn't even pick it out. They're just thinking of it. They saw it and they're thinking of it. So now they're like, wow, this is going to be really amazing. So what you're going to do is you're going to spread through the cards and hold the cards to yourself. Don't display them as you're doing this. This way it makes it more private. It's like, I'm going to do it, but don't just stare at the cards. Make sure they know that you're looking at the cards on purpose, like deliberately, but then also every so often make eye contact with the person. This way it'll look at more like it's not just a trick that you could do by yourself. This is a trick that you're doing for them. Okay, so you're going to go through the cards and you're going to find your key card. And in this case, it's the 5 of hearts. So you can separate the cards a lot like this. This makes it nice. And then when we get to the 5 of hearts, separate the cards again at the 5, so that the 5 is in your right hand and then the rest of the cards are in your left hand. Then you're going to put these all together like this and then look up at them. As you're looking up at them, you have a break right here, right below the 5 of hearts, or whatever your key card is, and you're going to look up at them and they're going to look up at you, because whenever you look up, they look up, usually. And then you're going to say, I think I know what your card is, but first, and you're going to immediately start the next sentence, because I've had times when the spectator asks me, what is it? And since you don't know what their card is, remember we just have a key card, and you can't say that. So you're going to say, I think I know what your card is, but first, I would like to read your mind again. And as you're saying that and you're looking at them, you're going to flip the deck around and keep that break. So this, I think, is actually the hardest part of the trick. All you have to do is grab underneath, twist, insert your pinky back inside there, and grab. So you're saying that, I think I know what your card is, but first, and then, now they're not going to try and ask you what their card is. Now they're listening to hear what you're going to say. And you're going to say, well, first, I'd like you to make this even more spectacular, or whatever you want to say. I want to try and read your mind twice. And now they're like, wow, this is going to be really amazing. Now what you have to do is just look at them, stare at them, and say, I'm going to try and figure out what your number is. But try and make it like you're not really sure if you know what it is. This way they won't ask you questions. And just say, I'm going to try and do this in complete silence. You like stare at them or whatever you want to do dramatically. And then you're going to very dramatically cut the deck like this. And you're going to cut, double undercut, or whatever kind of cut to cut the key card to the top of the deck. Then you're going to set the deck down like this without stating, I know what your number is. You're just going to set it down, like setting it down. Now you make it's like a statement. This is really great if you've shuffled the deck already. You just put down the deck. You can't change this. And now you say, what is your number? And sometimes the spectator will say, should I tell you it? And you say, yes. And then they're like, okay, well, you don't know it. But you're like, I do know it. I proved that I know it because your card is at your number. And now you've made a statement. And it's like, whoa, that would be really cool if that was true. But you shouldn't, and I say to them, wouldn't it be really cool if your card was at your number? Because then it's ruined the surprise. Because they don't really think it's at their number yet. And then they're gonna deal down the cards. And make sure, here's a very important thing, make sure they don't do it face up. Because if they do that, I've had spectators who recognize the cards being dealt up in the same order. So if they start doing that, say, no, do it face down or whatever. Just make sure that they're doing it face down, or even deal the first one for them so they understand what they're doing. So whatever their number was, let's say it was 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then say, flip over that card. And they're gonna flip it over, and that's gonna be their card. It doesn't matter what it is. Of course, you're not gonna recognize it because you have no idea what their card is. But you should, once they flip it over, don't say, is that your card? Because remember, you just read their mind. You know it's their card. So you should say, and that is your card. Even, you should look as certain as possible, even if you actually don't feel very certain, even if you think that you might have messed up. Because if you messed up, well, they'll just tell you your card, their real card, and maybe you can bring it to the top with a spread call, and then do a color change, which color changes are always really cool, or whatever. Or if you have an invisible deck in your pocket, you can take it out and do that trick, or whatever you want to fix the trick. But it's even cooler if you just seem to know their card, and you seem extremely sure about it. So, guys, thank you for watching this video. Please comment below on what you think about this trick, and like this video, and please subscribe to my YouTube channel.